Before the first pale thread of sunrise touched the Pacific, the island of Talu floated in the vast ocean like a shard of emerald glass. From above, it might have seemed a perfect jewellet's crescent beaches of white sand. The dark green crown of rainforest, the central mountain rising like the curved back of a giant turtle. Yet within that tranquil beauty moved a quiet tension, a heartbeat older than memory. The night air carried the scent of salt and resin from ancient cedar and ironwood. Somewhere in the depths of the forest, a deep, deliberate thrum rolled through the wind. It was not the crash of waves, nor the distant growl of thunder, but a slow, measured rhythm that vibrated in the chest. Fishermen had heard it for generations, calling it the pulse of the heart. Outsiders dismissed it as a quirk of the island's shifting stones. The Kuroa people knew better. It was the island speaking. 19-year-old Rue sat cross-legged on the cool sand, a fishing net across his knees. He loved the island fiercely, yet the endless horizon teased him with the possibility of something more. Each distant trader's tale of electric cities and humming machines lit a restlessness he could not name. Behind him, the village slept in its half-moon of thatched huts. The scent of coconut smoke lingered from the evening fire. He should have been asleep too, but the strange pressure in the air, like the pause before a great wave, had pulled him from his mat. A sudden shuffle of feet broke his thoughts. A beam of lantern light wavered among the palms. Dr. Elena Markovic, visiting archaeologist, emerged, brushing damp hair from her forehead. She and her small team had spent weeks documenting the Kuroa's legends and mapping the carvings, the sacred totem that stood at the island's center. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked, her accent clipped. The words softened by the hush of night. "Storm's coming," Rue replied, eyes fixed on the horizon. "The air tastes of copper." Alina tilted her head, following his gaze. "The barometer says calm seas for 2 days. The island doesn't read your barometer." He smiled faintly, but the tension in his shoulders remained. They stood together in silence. Far out at sea, lightning flickered green, and not white like ghostly lanterns beneath the water. At the heart of Talu stood the heart of the island, an enormous cedar older than legend. Beneath its colossal trunk rose the sacred totem, a tower of carved faces and interwoven creatures, shark, hawk, serpent, and one figure no outsider had ever been able to name. Generations of storms had failed to topple it. The villagers said it anchored the island to the world of spirits. As the night deepened, unnatural stillness crept across the village. Dogs lay with ears flat, eyes following shadows no one else could see. The ocean's steady roar softened, as though the sea itself was holding its breath. Elder Nima, the tribe's spiritual guide, emerged from his hut wrapped in a cloak of woven pandanus. His bone-beaded staff clicked softly as he approached Rue and Alina. "The heart stirs," he said, eyes reflecting the dim lantern light. "I feel it in my bones." Alina opened her mouth to ask a question, but the sky answered first. The first peal of thunder did not crash. It rolled low and endless, a sound that seemed to rise from the seabed. Clouds formed in an instant, swirling like ink spilled across a black canvas. Then the sky split. A bolt of lightning, brilliant emerald, speared downward, striking the very center of the island. The ground lurched underfoot. Huts shuddered. From the forest came a deep, resonant crack, as if a colossal door had swung open. Rue's breath caught. Through the sheets of sudden rain, he glimpsed the great tree and the totem beneath it. For the briefest heartbeat, the entire trunk glowed from within. A green-blue light that seemed to pulse like living flesh. "The totem," Elena whispered. Her voice trembled, not from fear, but from an almost reverent disbelief. Then the glow faded. Darkness swallowed the forest once more. Only the echo of the hidden drum remained, stronger now, beating in time with Rue's own racing heart. By dawn, the storm had spent itself. The sea lay glassy and calm, reflecting a sky of pale rose and gold, as if nothing unusual had occurred. But Talu was changed. When the villagers gathered at the clearing of the sacred totem, they found the ground wet, though no rain had fallen since midnight. Around the totem's roots, a spiral of damp footprints radiated outward. They were far larger than any humans, Yet no creature known to the island left a mark like that 5 broad toes, ending in points like obsidian. Claws. The totem itself bore new details. Alina, still shaking the rain from her clothes, leaned close with her notebook. Faint etchings, razor-sharp, an impossibly precise wound across the cedar faces. Lines of script in no language she recognized. Shapes that shifted when she tried to trace them. "This wasn't here yesterday," she murmured. "And it's not tool work. Not with any blade I know." Rue reached out, fingers brushing the carved wood. A shock of cold shot through him. Beneath the icy surface, he felt it a deliberate beat, slow and patient. Like the echo of his own pulse, Elder Nima lifted his staff. "The totem has awakened," he said, voice grave. The thunder was not a storm. It was a summons, a debt calling itself due. His words settled over the clearing like ash. Even the wind seemed to pause, listening. Somewhere deep in the island's forest, that ancient heartbeat answered, steady and unrelenting. Morning arrived, but sunlight failed to banish the night's unease. Though the storm had passed, the island of Talu lay under a strange, bruised sky. Clouds broke enough to reveal patches of blue. Yet the light that reached the forest floor carried a greenish cast, as if filtered through deep water. Birds should have filled the canopy with their shrill chorus. Instead, the only sound was the distant hush of the sea and a single, low vibration that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Rue woke to that sound. It threaded through his dreams and followed him into waking, a slow thrum that matched his heartbeat. He stepped outside his family's hut and saw other villagers standing silently in doorways, heads tilted toward the forest. Children clung to their mothers. The dogs that usually bounded toward the beach crouched low. Hackles stiff, at the central clearing the sacred totem waited, glistening faintly from the night's rain. New carvings, the impossible script first noticed by Dr. Alanicott, the morning light, and shimmered as if freshly cut. Elder Nima was already there, a smear of white ash across his brow. He held a bundle of bitter herbs that smoked in thin blue streams. Alina approached with her leather notebook clutched to her chest. She had slept little, spending most of the night comparing photographs of the totem taken days earlier. "These markings," she said to Rue, voice low, "they're not erosion, and I can't match them to any known writing system. It's as though the wood reshaped itself." Nima traced a trembling finger along the largest spiral. "The heart speaks," he whispered. "The debt awakens." The words prickled along Rue's skin. He wanted to scoff, he had always met the elders' tales with quiet doubt, but the memory of that blue-green lightning and the icy heartbeat in the totem silenced him as the sun climbed. Higher, the island did not brighten. Instead, a cool mist gathered, soft and metallic on the tongue. Fishermen who pushed their canoes to sea found their oars heavy, as though the lagoon resisted them. Compass needles spun lazily and refused to settle. By midday, the first signs of something stranger appeared. From the forest edge, a narrow path of damp earth unfurled where no trail had ever been. It wound inward like a serpent, the soil slick with dew that smelled faintly of iron. The villagers gathered in uneasy clusters. No one had seen anyone clear it. The ground had simply opened. Nima planted his staff and spoke. "The island calls. We must answer, or its patience will end." Rue felt every eye turn toward him and Alina. Outsiders rarely joined sacred rituals. Yet no one objected when she stepped forward. Her scientist's curiosity burned through her caution. "If we follow," she said, "we document everything. Every sound, every sign." Nima inclined his head gravely. "Words are welcome. Disrespect is not." The small party set out, Elder Nima, Rue, Alina, and 3 seasoned hunters. They entered beneath the high arch of mangroves, where the new path began. At once the temperature dropped, as if they had stepped into a cave. Light dwindled to a watery dusk. Moss-covered trunks loomed like watchful giants. No birdsong. No insect whine. Only the layered murmur of something vast and unseen, like a chorus of distant voices speaking just below the range of comprehension. Alina noted every detail. her pencil scratching in rhythm with the strange pulse beneath their feet. Magnetic disturbance, she whispered to herself. But how? Rue barely heard her. The path seemed to breathe. Shadows shifted at the edge of sight, coalescing into half-forms. A shark's fin slicing through air, the flick of a hawk's wing, the curve of a serpent. Each vanished the instant he turned his head. They walked for what felt like hours, time folding and stretching until even Alina stopped checking her watch. At last the trees parted into a clearing bathed in an otherworldly glow. Moonlight? No, the sun still rode the sky, yet the clearing shimmered with a pale blue radiance. At its center stood a second totem, smaller than the one in the village but more intricate, inlaid with shards of obsidian that caught the light like black fire. Around its base lay objects half buried in the earth, rusted spearheads, bronze coins dulled by salt, a child's wooden toy carved in a style centuries old. Alina spoke again, softer now. Then this. Clearing. It's a record. Every traveler who sought favor here left something behind. She pointed to the scattered artifacts. The spirit gathers its debts. Nima nodded gravely. And now it gathers ours. The air thickened, the light flaring once more. From somewhere deep in the forest came a final whisper. Soft, yet undeniable, the heir of the broken line must return. Every head turned slowly toward. Rue, the clearing held its breath. Blue light shimmered over bark and obsidian, coating every leaf in a ghostly sheen. The last words of the unseen voice. The heir of the broken line must return hung in the air like a living presence. Rue felt the weight of every gaze upon him. His own heartbeat drummed in perfect unison with the island's low, unrelenting pulse. He wanted to deny it, to laugh, to demand another explanation. But something deep inside, older than his own life, recognized the call. Elder. Nima lowered his staff until it touched the damp earth. Blood remembers, he said softly. The promise binds itself through generations. Alina stepped closer to Rue, her eyes sharp with both concern and curiosity. What do they mean? Why you? Rue opened his mouth, but the forest answered first. Visions in the gloth, blue light flared, bright enough to blind. Heatless fire swirled around Rue. In its center images unfolded like smoke-painted murals. He saw canoes slicing across a midnight ocean. Their sails stitched from palm fronds, their crews gaunt with hunger yet steady in their chant. Lightning forked across the sky as a colossal tree rose from the waves, the heart of the island. Standing impossibly tall above the water, a man and woman held a small child between them, their eyes full of fear and devotion. They stood before the sacred totem and begged, safe passage for their people, a home across the endless sea. Their voices merged with the roar of the storm. In return, a deeper voice familiar, eternal answered, life for life when the third generation comes. The parents hesitated. The storm pressed closer. At last the mother whispered agreement, tears streaking her face. Time shattered. The vision jumped. The same parent soldier, desperate, fled through the forest, clutching the child. Behind them, the totem pulsed with a furious light. They hid in a cavern of black rock, cradling the child against their hearts as the storm howled. The vow remained unfulfilled. The images dissolved, leaving Rue trembling. He tasted salt and iron on his tongue. The echo of the ancient voice throbbed in his skull. Return what was taken. The elder's revelation when the glow dimmed. The clearing seemed darker than before. Rue staggered, catching himself against the smaller totem. You saw it, Nima said, his own eyes reflecting faint blue. The true beginning of our people. The promise they made, the debt they fled. Alina wiped a trembling hand across her brow. So the legend of a third generation. It's literal. You think Rue is that child's descendant? Nima nodded once, solemn as a verdict. He carries the blood of the hidden child. The island does not forget. The hunters shifted uneasily. Spears angled toward the ground. One of them, a broad-shouldered man named Tahi, whispered, then he must be offered. No. Alina's voice cracked through the silence. We are not living in the age of human sacrifice. The spirit is not bound by your ages, Nima said. though his tone carried sorrow, not cruelty. If the debt is unpaid, the island will collect in other ways. As if to punctuate his words, the ground trembled. A low groan rolled beneath their feet, followed by the snap of distant trees. The island stirs, they hurried back toward the village. The mysterious trail now pulsing with faint luminescence, as though guiding them. Overhead, clouds gathered with unnatural speed. By the time they emerged from the forest, the lagoon churned under a sky the color of tarnished steel. Waves struck the beach in heavy, uneven rhythms. Children cried as the tides surged higher than any remembered. Licking at the stilts of the outer huts, fishermen dragged their canoes inland while elders scattered offerings of shell and fruit into the foaming water. Still, the sea climbed. Alina snapped open her field journal, rain dotting the pages. "This is no ordinary tide," she said. "The barometric pressure hasn't changed enough." A sudden wave slammed against the shore, spraying them with icy brine. Rue stumbled back, heart hammering. In the froth, dozens of fish writhed. Their silver scales bore intricate black spirals marks, identical to those newly etched into the totem. The villagers gasped. Some fell to their knees, pressing their foreheads to the wet sand. "The spirit sends its warning," Nima intoned. "Every creature of the sea carries the message. The promise must be kept." A private confession night came without sunset. Clouds blotted out the horizon, turning the world into a dim chamber of shifting gray. Rue found himself standing at the edge of the sacred totem once more, Lena at his side. The great cedar loomed, its carvings alive with faint light. "You believe it now," she said quietly. It was not a question. "Feel it," he admitted. "When the voice spoke, it was inside me. Like remembering something I never lived." Elena's expression softened. "But you don't have to surrender to superstition. There has to be another explanation. A geological phenomenon, some electromagnetic." A low boom rolled through the earth, silencing her words. The totem's eyes flickered blue. Rue closed his own eyes. The heartbeat of the island thrummed through him, steady and ancient. "It isn't superstition," he whispered. "It's family." Gathering storm by midnight, the ocean glowed faintly, a spectral blue that mirrored the totem's light. The lagoon heaved as if something massive moved beneath it. From the forest came a chorus of whispers. Rising and falling like wind through reeds, "Return what was taken. Return what was taken." Villagers crowded the central clearing, torches casting uneasy shadows. Elder Nima stood at the totem, his staff planted firmly in the earth. "The spirit has spoken," he declared. "The heir of the broken line must answer." Murmurs spread like fire through dry grass. All eyes turned again to Rue. Alina stepped protectively beside him. "If you think you can force him," Nima raised a hand, silencing her. "No force. Only choice. The spirit demands a willing heart." He fixed his gaze on Rue. "But understand, child of Talu, if the choice is refusal, the island will claim every life to balance the scales." Lightning flared offshore, green, white, and silent. The storm's breath smelled of salt and iron. Rue felt the world narrow to a single point, the totem's carved eyes. Faintly luminous, watching like the gaze of an eternal judge, somewhere deep in his chest. A calm he did not recognize settled over the fear. The island's heartbeat matched his own. For the first time he understood what it meant to belong not only to a people, but to a promise. The village did not sleep. Torches guttered in the salt-heavy wind. Their smoke whipped into frantic spirals that disappeared against the black sky. The lagoon glimmered with an otherworldly sheen, as though the sea itself carried a secret fire. Children huddled close to their mothers, wide-eyed and silent. Dogs refused to bark, noses low to the ground as if scenting something older than scent. Rue stood at the heart of the gathering, sacred totem looming behind him like a patient sentinel. Elder Nima faced the restless crowd. "The hour of reckoning has come," he announced, voice steady, though the earth rumbled beneath his feet. "The spirit calls for the heir to cross the water and return what was taken." Whispers raced through the villagers like dry leaves in a gale. Some pleaded with the elder to reconsider. Others pressed forward to glimpse the man the spirit had chosen. Alina reached for Rue's arm. There has to be another way, she said, her words nearly lost to the rising wind. We don't even know what the return means. Sacrifice. Surrender? It's guesswork. Rue met her gaze. It isn't guesswork. I feel it. His voice surprised him, calm, certain, as though it belonged to someone far older. I have to go. The journey to the Black Reef before dawn, they set out. Nima led the small party Rue Alina. And to silent oarsmen, oared the place where the reef split the ocean like a dark scar. The villagers watched from the shore, their torches shrinking to pinpricks as the canoe slid into the heaving water. The farther they rowed, the stronger the glow beneath the waves. Blue light licked the hull, curling around the oar blades like liquid moonfire. Alina scribbled frantic notes despite the spray. Bioluminescent plankton, she muttered, as if naming it could tame it. Yet even she could not deny the rhythmic pulse. Perfectly matched to Rue's heartbeat, the sky was a single unbroken slate. No stars, no horizon. At the reef's edge, the water turned glassy and still. Towering black stones jutted from the sea like teeth. In their midst rose a narrow channel, and within that channel, a cavern mouth glowed faintly, as if lit from a depthless source. This is where the first ones hid, Nima said. His voice was reverent, almost fearful. Where they thought the spirit could not follow, the cavern of echoes, they stepped onto slick rock, the sea sucking at their heels. Inside, the cavern opened like the throat of the island itself. Blue fire traced the walls in intricate spirals, identical to the marks on the totem. Rue felt the call deepen, a low vibration that resonated in his bones. He moved forward without thinking, palm brushing the stone. Images, flickered faces, storms. The terrified eyes of the ancestors who once fled here. At the center of the cavern stood a second totem, smaller but carved from the same obsidian heartwood. Its eyes glowed like twin eclipses. Nima bowed low. This is the true altar. The ground shivered. From the walls came a chorus of whispers. Return what was taken. Blood for promise. Life for life. Alina caught Rue's sleeve. Don't listen. We don't know what it wants. Rue turned to her, and for the first time she saw the strange serenity in his face. It wants the vow fulfilled. My blood carries their debt. The choice the whispers thickened until they became a single voice. Deep and resonant air of the broken line, will you pay the price? The cavern trembled. Droplets fell like cold stars. Rue's pulse matched the island's. Images of the first parents filled his mind. Terror, hope, their desperate bargain. He felt their love for the child and their dread of losing him. He felt their guilt when they ran. I am here, Rue said. His voice echoed, carried by forces unseen. I return what was taken. Let the people live. Blue light flared. The second totem's eyes widened, spilling radiance until the entire cavern burned like daylight beneath the sea. Alina stepped forward, tears mixing with seawater. If you do this, you die. Don't you see? That's what it wants. Rue reached out, brushing her cheek with a salt-wet hand. Not death, completion. The offering tied, the light engulfed him. For a heartbeat, he felt every grain of sand, every route and scale, every breath of wind that ever touched the island. He was not consumed, but multiplied past and present, folding into one endless moment. Outside, the ocean roared. Waves struck the cavern walls with thunderous force, yet the water never rose beyond Rue's knees. Instead, it bowed, as though the sea itself offered homage. Then the light burst outward. The cavern walls flared brilliant white, and the voices fell silent. When Rue opened his eyes, the smaller totem's eyes no longer glowed. The carvings softened, crumbling into smooth stone. A profound stillness settled, so complete that even the ocean hushed. Dada Yu stood unharmed. Alina stared speechless. Nima lowered his staff, awe etched across every line of his face. The debt is paid, the elder whispered. The spirit accepts. Return to the living. They emerged at dawn. The sky blazed clear, washed in colors so vivid they seemed newly invented. The lagoon lay calm, its surface like polished glass. Birds returned in a rush of sound, as though someone had lifted a long-standing silence. On shore, the villagers knelt when they saw Rue step from the canoe. Children pressed flowers into his wet hands. Elders touched his shoulders with reverent fingers, but Rue felt no triumph, only a quiet, infinite connection, as if the island's heartbeat now echoed forever within his own. Alina slipped beside him. "You're alive," she breathed, equal parts relief and disbelief. "I am," he said, though the words felt both entirely his and not his at all. "But something of me stays with the island." That was the bargain. Nima raised his staff high. "The spirit of the totem has been appeased. Our people live because the heir remembered." The crowd began a low, melodic chantan, ancient hymn, lost 4 generations, yet perfectly remembered in that instant. The sound swelled, filling the dawn with layered harmonies, until even the ocean seemed to sing. Rue closed his eyes. The song vibrated through his bones, a promise renewed, a circle unbroken. The morning after the offering tide unfolded with a stillness so deep that even the ocean seemed to listen. Mist lifted from the lagoon in slow, silvery veils. Palm leaves dripped with yesterday's storm, each drop catching the newborn light like a bead of glass. The island felt scrubbed clean, as though the night's fury had rinsed every shadow from its heart. Rue awoke on a mat outside Elder Nima's hut. He expected the bone-deep fatigue of someone who had wrestled with the supernatural. But his body felt both light and unshakably solid, as if the earth itself steadied his breath. Beneath the steady thrum of waves, he sensed a quieter rhythm and echo of the heartbeat that had guided him through the cavern. He rose and stepped into the clearing. Villagers were already at work, mending nets, gathering fallen coconuts, laughing with the nervous brightness of survivors who sense a new chapter beginning. When they noticed Rue, they paused, then lowered their heads in quiet respect. No one spoke his name. They simply acknowledged him with a reverence that needed no words. Ripples of renewal. Elder Nima approached, leaning lightly on his staff. The old man's eyes shone, not with triumph, but with a peace Rue had never seen there before. "The island breathes with you now," Nima said. "The spirit sleeps, but it listens through your heartbeat. We are whole again." Rue searched the elder's weathered face. "I feel it," he admitted, "but I don't feel separate. It's as if the boundary between me and this place is gone." Nima nodded. "The first ancestors broke the circle when they fled their vow. You have closed it. The island will remember your name, and so will the sea." From the beach came the clear call of a horned shell. Children ran laughing into the surf, their feet leaving brief signatures on the sand before the tide erased them. Schools of fish glittered in the shallows bright, unmarked, free of the black spirals that had haunted them the night before. The lagoon itself pulsed with a warm golden light. The eerie blue of the past days now a memory. Elena's question. Elena joined them, her notebook tucked beneath one arm. Her hair was still damp, but her eyes sparkled with the restless curiosity that had first brought her to the island. "I don't know how to catalog this," she said, half to herself. "The tide, the light, your survival. Science can't hold it." Rue met her gaze. "Maybe it's not meant to be held. Maybe it's meant to be witnessed." She studied him, seeing the subtle difference in his posture, the calm in his voice. "You're changed," she said softly, "but you're still you." "I'm more me than I've ever been," he replied. Alina glanced toward the sacred totem that towered at the clearing's edge. The carvings, once harsh with blue fire, now seemed merely wood and stone, again beautiful. Yes, but quiet. "Do you think it's over?" "For now," Rue said. "The island is satisfied. The circle is whole. But balance isn't a permanent thing. It's something we have to keep." The celebration. By dusk, the village had transformed. Palm frond lanterns swung from every post, their warm glow reflecting off the calm water. Drums rolled in slow, steady patterns. Voices rose in harmonies older than memory. Fish roasted over open fires, mingling with the sweet scent of breadfruit. Children chased one another with garlands of hibiscus. Elders traced spirals of ochre on their foreheads, a mark not of fear this time, but of gratitude. Nima guided Rue to the center of the circle. Tonight, the elder declared, we celebrate the living bond between our people and the spirit of this island. Tonight we honor Rue, heir of the broken line, who chose unity over self. The crowd responded with a low, resonant chant. Rue felt the sound vibrate through the soles of his feet up his spine, until it hummed in his chest like a second heartbeat. Elena joined the dance that spiraled around the fires, her laughter ringing against the star-pricked sky. For the first time since her arrival, she looked less like a visitor and more like someone claimed by the island's story. Midnight on the shore when the celebration faded and the drums grew quiet. Rue wandered to the edge of the lagoon. The moon hung huge and coppery, painting the sand in molten light. He could feel the island's heartbeat there, steady and deep. Like a sleeping giant, the totem stood silhouetted against the sky. Its once fierce eyes were calm, but as Rue approached, a faint glimmer stirred a single pulse of soft gold, warm and reassuring. He placed his palm against the carved wood. The grain felt alive beneath his skin. You kept the promise, the island seemed to say, though no words reached his ears. Now keep the balance. Rue closed his eyes. He thought of the ancestors who had fled, of the child whose bloodline he carried, of the storm that had nearly devoured them all. He thought of Elena's unyielding belief and understanding, and of the villagers whose faith had never wavered. I will, he whispered. The totem's glow faded, leaving only moonlight. A legacy renewed days turned to weeks. The sea remained calm, its fish plentiful. The villagers rebuilt the outer huts with a quiet joy, confident that the old bargain had been honored. Children grew up hearing not just the warning of the ancient pact, but the fuller story, the courage of one who chose to bridge the past and the white cond. Lena stayed longer than she had planned, her research evolving from anthropology to something far less definable. In the evenings, she and Rue walked the shore, speaking sometimes of science, sometimes of spirit, often of both. You could leave, she said, one twilight, watching the tide slip in and out. Return to the mainland. The world would want to hear what happened here. Rue smiled, the sound of the ocean threading through his breath. The world will feel it anyway. Some stories don't need to be told to be true. Closing the circle on the final night before Elena's departure, the villagers gathered once more beneath a sky of infinite stars. They lit a single fire at the base of the sacred totem, its flames sending sparks into the dark like scattered constellations. Elder Nima spoke only one sentence. The circle is whole. The people repeated it softly. A benediction and a vow. Rue felt the words settle inside him, not as a burden, but as a heartbeat timeless patient. Alive. He looked toward the horizon, where the ocean met the night, and for a fleeting moment the waves shimmered with the faintest hint of blue, a gentle reminder that the spirit of the totem would never truly sleep. The island belonged to its people. The people belonged to the island. And in the endless rhythm of tide and moon, promise and memory, the story continued complete yet forever beginning,